pandemic and mental health taught me one thing, that I need to be part of the solution. If I can help one person, like affect them so they can lead a happier, healthier life, then it's all been worth it. Hello, welcome. How are we doing?
Very well. How are you?
Do you know what? I'll be honest, mate. I put it on. I mean, you're aware. People like close to me are aware as well. I kind of disappeared off radar for like a week. I don't know what it was. It weren't COVID or like that, but whatever it was, it knocked me for six. I was literally, energy had gone. I mean, top and bottom of it, I know what it is. I was burning candle both ends with studying and stuff like that. So it just kind of brought me back to sort of like ground, in a sense of that you need to kind of like just remember what the crack is. Remember that you need to look after yourself, because I didn't even have an option with it. One at days, I think I slept like something ridiculous, like 26 hours. It was like, I hadn't done that since I'd come out of womb, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
Since you spat out, yeah.
Exactly, mate. Exactly that. So yeah, there's obviously technical issues from my side of things has meant that this episode that I've been super excited about doing, we had to sort of like delay it. Obviously you were amazing by just obviously making it as accessible as possible to sort of like, look, we'll get it sorted. It's not a problem. We'll get it done. So yeah, we're here. We're finally here, episode 2. Before we go any further, I was going to say it earlier on. It's Tony Westwood's birthday today.
Never.
It is, mate. So yeah,
no way.
A big shout out to the shoeless wonder that is Tony Westwood, all the way over in Aussie.
Happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday, mate. And yeah, when you're listening to this, driving around in Outback again, like you were on episode 1, yeah, have yourself a little boogie and a little dance and get some bloody shoes on for a change as well.
Because they stink, them feet.
That's it, mate. Exactly. So yeah, and I'll get the formalities out of the way. Anybody that's new, that's sort of like just discovering the content that gets put out as part of Jukebox Jax. Obviously, these episodes are available on video format on YouTube, but they're also available in audio format on Spotify. So if you are listening throughout, do where possible try and catch the video as well, because it's going to have lots of relevant advertisements, informations about obviously Mark's different things that he's got coming up, obviously advertisements from Jukebox Jax, and then we've got some other information about mental health, access numbers, shall we say, in case obviously somebody just wants to reach out if they haven't got people around them, family, friends, and they want to confidentially reach out and get a little bit of support, a little bit of guidance on how to deal with whatever different manner of mental health issue they're dealing with at the minute. They'll be coming up throughout the episode. As I say, if you're listening on Spotify, just follow the links, which are always put in the episode description, and it'll divert you to all the places. So you're pretty much going to get everything that you are on video format as well. And lastly, on the topic of content as well, obviously, anybody that hasn't caught episode 1 already, just to let you know, we've got lots of different content coming as part of the Jukebox Jax brand, whether it's following my journey of mental health nursing, which starts from September. Obviously, it's a 3-year degree. So I'm giving back in that way to help any potential other adult learners, or even just obviously younger students that are wanting to go into a nursing field or similar. Little insights, little advice where I'll have learned things along the way, and I can just pass little bits of information, because as I found coming into this, discussed on episode 1, I didn't even know where to begin to look and stuff. So getting that information together and not having to search about 50,000 different videos as I did, getting it all in one place, it's just going to make it far easier just to give a little bit of information back to people and stuff. In addition to that, Obviously gonna have the my motor vlog as well, which is going to tie in with my nursing vlog because there's going to be a lot of traveling backwards and forwards. So doing both at the same time, and then there's going to be following different journeys of now that lockdown restrictions are getting eased, going into festivals, gigs, and my jiu-jitsu vlog as well as the fundraising that we've got lined up with different obviously bands and different people that I'm associated with, where we're going to try and get some mental health awareness done through music. But that is the formalities out of the way, and now let's get on to this episode. Just lastly, there's going to be lower third advertisements coming throughout this episode. We will keep obviously noting different information where you can find information about what Mark's doing, and like I said, the advertisements on the video will be coming up lower thirds throughout. And obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure that you divert to YouTube to check the video and just to follow them links. It's Matt's going to go into some detail about that further on down. But yeah, it was important when we first started discussing this that we both kind of had the same mindset with it, that obviously you wanted to tell your story, because a lot of people are going to find it really relatable. So before we go down that path, how are you now? How are you now? Day to day?
Very well.
New job?
Very well. New job. Fresh outlook on life now. This just amazing thing came to me last year where it was, right, we need to start action now. It's like, you've seen the bottom, so we need to work up now and just bring everybody with me. Take everybody that's struggling in that same point at that time and let's go for it. Do you know what I mean? We can conquer the world if we work together.
Of course you can. Exactly. And I think that's an important thing as well, isn't it? Because a lot of people at times, if they're going through things or struggling, you always tend to hear, you know, did you turn to your family? Did you turn to your friends? Sometimes turning to a stranger is even more effective. So obviously in them situations of, obviously, like you're saying, of just banding people that's very like-minded and that's got the same sort of things, and who aren't necessarily people you've known for like a long time, they can just be as crucial to the plan, especially for what you've got.
But for somebody like that's not spoke about it to anybody before, it's scary because unless you've been in that mentality, you can't really describe how you're feeling to somebody. So it's very confusing, and that's why I think people are struggling so much, is because the general people that aren't suffering through mental health are turning around saying, it'll be all right, slap on the shoulder, let's carry on. Do you know what I mean? And it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's one of them, and obviously no one doubts the intentions of them people are the nice intentions, but it's it emphasizes that point of the awareness still, doesn't it? That those people they do mean well, but even that's their comments that they're saying, they haven't got that much awareness behind what they're trying to do, because just saying, you know, pat on the back like, oh, come on, you'll feel better tomorrow, or cheer up, mate, you know. And it's them sort of things. It's like, I get that your intention's there, but you clearly don't understand what I'm dealing with right now.
And for men especially, you have to wear this armor, don't you? You have to be this strong alpha male that takes care of everything, and that's where it gets us in the end.
Yeah, I mean, is that kind of what led, obviously, you down that path in that sense?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, definitely. I saw it all the time walking about, just listening to random conversations that people are having, and it's like, yeah, I need to do this, I need to do that. So people it's like built so much weight onto their own shoulders that they don't know how to deal with it anymore. And unfortunately, it turns out where they're committing suicide and not getting help, or do you know what I mean? And it just starts off little things and makes a big explosion, doesn't it?
Yeah, because obviously there's that many varying different stresses that come along, you know, whether it's working, personal life. Sometimes it's the tiniest things that just push you too far, definitely. Where you literally sort of like, I can't cope with this anymore. Like, and that literally you're in that scenario where you genuinely feel there is no other alternative. It's not a case of like some people say, oh, it's attention seeking and things like that. It's like, no, genuinely, that person, that moment in time, believed they would be better off gone,
not here.
Better off not dragging people down around them, because that's one of the points that I think a lot of people don't understand. When someone gets that low and that amount of negative thoughts are really weighing down on them, the thought process is no longer
it's not functionable anymore.
And that's definitely extremely valid what you just said there, that it's just things aren't just the brain, it's injured in that sense. Just it's like with a physical injury, you know what I mean? If you break your arm, you go to A&E, you get an X-ray, you put a cast on. And this is where we're ultimately, obviously yourself in the same boat with things, what we're trying to do as a movement now, where the brain, all mental health conditions need to be treated as vitally as the physical, because you know what I mean?
The scars in the brain last forever, don't they? It's how we evolve and try and just cushion them scars a little bit. How I want to describe it. I think that's.
I mean, I mean, leading up to this episode, we've had loads of different conversations, and obviously we were having a conversation one at nights, and it just made me think back to it, obviously, because we've got the same mindset, and there's a lot of people around us that's got the same mindset where if we don't do something, who is? Who's going to do it? And it's not like we're saying that we're the ones that's going to make a change, but we're two people that are going to be contributing that weren't contributing before, and then and there's more and more, and we've known about, maybe not as on a mainstream kind of way, but certainly as kids, like how many times did we hear that cliche of, oh, you know, sticks and stones will break my bones, but it's the words, it was always the words, and that ties in with what you were just saying there, that it's them that make the serious sort of like the damage in that sense.
Definitely.
So let's dive in. Obviously, like you said earlier before we started, obviously there's no way of avoiding these without obviously these topics getting dark and stuff, but it's vital that other people hear this, because you know, your darkness that you went through and that you've come through the other side is going to shine so much light on these individual people's instances that they're currently going through, where they're sat there and like, you know, but you know, Mark's not going through what I went through, he's not had this going off, it's not going off. It's like, well, you don't actually know what Mark's been through. I've been lucky enough to know Mark for many years, since Cineworld.
2003.
Yeah,
I think
it was 2003. Some might say that's when it all just went wrong.
Definitely we got together, mate.
Far too many nights out that we'd probably like to put behind us.
Getting kicked out of pubs in Castleford.
And
Want us best.
And then just deciding to go out back of said pubs and just stay there for hours drinking instead.
Made sense, complete sense.
It did indeed, mate. That's what I thought as well. So I mean, let's tie it in with from that point, really, because obviously I'm not too certain if I left Cineworld or you left before me, but basically our contact kind of like we fell off. There were no falling out or anything like that. There never has been in all of our friend circle. You just, life takes over, doesn't it?
It is, life's a busy roller coaster.
So then if we pick it up from that point, like what happened to you after sort of Cineworld, you know, in terms of jobs and stuff?
So I got to about 2004. I think I'd left just before 2004, and work wasn't going right well. I used to live with my cousin at the time, and then I went to live with my mum. So I went to live with my mum, went out with my uncle. We had quite a close relationship and stuff. So used to go out with him. And unfortunately, one night he went home early, and his uncle said, "Oh, we'll walk you home." His best friend said, "I'll walk you home," and he decided to push me down in a ditch and then tried to rape me. Luckily, I didn't get that far.
Yeah.
I got some strength from somewhere. A little twig at that age, if you remember.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, this guy just jumped on top of me, tried to rag my clothes off. So I managed to spin him round, get up, ran away, shouted to his friends what he'd just tried to do. They didn't believe me. Run down the street where Nottingley High School is, and rang the police, and they took me away. Did loads of DNA stuff. Did loads of meetings with the people who were involved with it, and they just come to my house and turned around and said, "Yeah, there's not enough evidence to prosecute." And they were getting married 2 days before the incident happened in 2004. So it was very, I didn't have much belief in people after that time.
Yeah.
Because obviously it took me all that effort to get up off the ground, go to people who I thought like was my friend.
Yeah.
And say, "This has just happened." They didn't believe me and laughed. So then I've had to run off and like be on my own for 20 minutes after this accident's happened at 16 years old.
That man that's beyond traumatic in that sense of, and like you just touched on then, it's a lot of people are going to be able to sort of like sympathize and obviously relate to what you've just said there, because when you do reach out and you do like to those people that were there and you're like, "Look, this has just happened. Look at the state of me. I'm emotional. Like, look at me. This happened." And they're like, "No, it didn't. No, it didn't. You're making it up," kind of thing. And it's like, it gives nobody ever any incentive to speak up about anything.
Yeah, definitely.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's happening all the time, isn't it? And that's why we need to get a decent support network started where people can trust to come and talk to us, and we'll try and help them hopefully get better.
Yeah, because it's like, well, you know more than I do in terms of these things. It's not just one conversation.
No.
Obviously, it's providing yourself with a support network, but obviously a care plan as well. As we know, like you've got to be constantly assessed. At times is the wrong word, because people, as soon as you said that you're being assessed for mental health condition,
but you have to support them, and like say the care plan, the support, it rolls in, doesn't it? But you have to be so delicate while you're doing it at the same time.
You've got to go, obviously, like if anybody tried to sort of like intervene and sort of like try and take you down certain journey paths to obviously to improve your current mental health, it's got to be done on the patient side of things. It's got to be done at their level, and there's no right or wrong. What could have worked with you might not necessarily work with someone else, but it also might work as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's that, like, after the incident happened, it's like, does your family believe you? Do they think you're weird? Are you now going to be an outcast because you've been made that vulnerable? Do you know what I mean? And there's all them mixed emotions going through your head, and that's where the doubt starts seeding in. And do you know what I mean? It's an awkward one to really describe them thoughts that was going through your head at that time.
Yeah, because there's obviously, it's a cliche, isn't it, when people say it, but it is very dark thoughts that people think. And like we said earlier, not for any reason of the person is, I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes in terms of obviously self-harm and suicide, it's people are doing it not for attention seeking, they do it in they're crying out that they need help, and that's their way of doing it. But then there's some genuine cases where that person that's going through that isn't even thinking about anything like that. They're just genuinely thinking, the life I currently have is not worth living. There's no, you know what I mean? People around me would be better off without me. I'm bringing them down. I'm not contributing anything to life. What's the point in me being here? All I'm doing is hurting every day and getting up and going through the same things every single day. But as you know, obviously now coming through like the other side, so many possibilities every day that comes.
There is definitely, It took me till last year till I've like fully opened up now. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I've said on my videos, if you go and check them out, that it wasn't up until about 4 or 5 months ago when I was hearing voices in my head and stuff. There were like various things patterned from 99 to last year where we were hearing voices, me wanting to like do physical harm to people. And I was getting this list stacked up in my head where I was going to really hurt people. And it was like, no, I cannot do this anymore. And that's when I got to my darkest point. And it was like, right, I need to end my life now because I'm not going to end somebody else's. And it felt like a defibrillator on your chest. And I had like four coppers and paramedic come up to me because I was going to shoot myself or hurt somebody. And it wasn't like I say, it was a defibrillator straight on my chest when all that happened. It was like, Jonesy, what are you doing? You need to, like, do you know what I mean? And to get out of that, because I was in that zone where I do not want to be on this earth anymore. Do you know what I mean? And I was really there to that point where I wasn't seeing past anything. I couldn't listen to Sally. I wasn't listening to my family. Do you know what I mean? It was so horrible. So horrible. But they do say you have to go to that dark place to be able to reach it.
They do, don't they? They said that obviously you have to go to the lowest, darkest place to be able to come out of it. Don't get me wrong, some people can, they've learned over time of whatever mental health condition they're dealing with, they've learned certain triggers. So because it is one of these things, there is no cure for varying mental health conditions. It's about learning to be able to comfortably live your life in a more happier environment, and obviously a change in sort of like positivity in regards to obviously the prospects that each day brings and stuff. But you never get over it. Like obviously me myself, like anxiety still to this day. I suffer chronically, and that's all due to my childhood past and stuff, the things that went on there. But and I embraced it a long time ago. Like that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. And the sooner I adjusted to that and accepted, this is what I deal with. It's as much a part of me as my skin and my blood and my bones is. Embrace it.
And use it as power.
Exactly. And obviously, and that's in that sense where I've now come full circle, where it's like the experiences in my past, learning coping mechanisms to on a daily basis deal with my anxiety without the use of medication and things like that could help other people.
See, I'm dependent on medication. I'll probably never come off it, but I'd still say that if you can get away from that route of being stuck on the medication, then it's better for you. It's better for your health because it's not good for your lungs, is it, taking medication for the rest of your life? But
yeah, because there is that. Obviously, there's a lot of people that say that in there when you talk about when you go to, and it ties in with what we were saying earlier. If you go to your GP, and I've said this numerous times to people around me, it's not a criticism against the current sort of standards and the GPs, especially out there. But if you go and say to a GP, I think I'm depressed, without any further referrals or anything, they'll just stick you on antidepressants.
Yeah, 100%.
And as we know, medications as a whole react differently, person to person, chemically.
It does.
It switches differently. So what might work for one patient might not work for 5 others. But they're going to continue to go through that cycle in the meantime until then they go back to the GP and say, this medication's not working, I'm feeling worse.
Mm.
But you know as well as I do, how many of them people actually go back after they've, like, if they go and get given a course of the antidepressives and then they don't work, very likely they're going to go back to the GP. They're just going to be like, well, that didn't work, so whatever. I'm not.
Well, that's what the problem that I had for the past 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, that I was on martezepam, that a lot of people will probably be on that's listening. And I'd been on it for 10 years. And it was like, that's run its course now. So that's when I started to get voices and stuff in my head. That's when it first started. And I had people laughing at me, shouting my name. And there were no one there. It was pitch black on a night. Do you know what I mean? So there were no, so it was like, there's something really wrong here. There is, do you know what I mean? You go and speak to somebody, like doctors or some professional. And I said, right, we need to change your medication, Mr. Jones. So we're going to wean you off this martezepam and we'll put you on the sertraline, which is apparently the most common tablet at the moment.
Yeah.
So they weaned that down, put that up. That worked. That were great. It was working. And then it come to like 2020, start of 2020, when we moved to Cambridgeshire from Pontefract. My sister-in-law, she was suffering with stage 4 bowel cancer, and the prognosis wasn't looking good. So we decided that we were going to up sticks, go to Cambridgeshire and help my nieces and nephews and my brother, support them, because obviously the time was coming. And then she passed away a year last Saturday. So it's been a tough time for them. And yeah, it hasn't been a nice year, but it's been a year that we've been able to focus and make sure that we don't break down, to make sure that them 7 kids know they've got a shoulder just to come and cry on, you know, and talk about the feelings. If they want to go see mum, they can go see mum. So
I mean, obviously my opinion is just my opinion, but I've always said in these situations that, you know, when things evolve, and like I'm one of the people that truly believes that certain things need to happen to send you down a different path. Like yourself, obviously, when you were going through what you were going through, you weren't at that point in a position strong enough to be able to sort of like, obviously, to be where you are now presently. But it took you needing to be there for your relatives, for there to be a shift in your brain, and then you to be like, do you know what? It's not right. This ain't right. I know I've been on medication for 10 plus years. I know they've put me on different sorts of stuff, but it's still not working. And something's got to give, because now I'm in a position where obviously I can contribute to these other people, and clearly they see a lot in me that they feel that they need me around, and that's not putting a pressure on you in that sense of
no. You know, for the first time in my life, it feels good, because I can appreciate it back, because I'm like confident in myself, and you know what I mean, I'm like strong. You're not going to take me down anymore, so I'm going to embrace every bit of emotion that I get and use it to make sure that them demons don't kill us, mate.
Mate, it's so funny that you just said it like you did, because literally I have conversations with a lot of my close mates around here. Like I always say it each morning when I get up, I'll always have a joking sort of comment to myself referring to my anxiety, where I'll get out of bed and I'll go to drawers and I'll get my socks or whatever, and then I'll turn it around, I'll obviously put duvet back over, tidy it bed up and stuff. And then as I'm walking out of bedroom, I refer to the anxiety and say, get back to bed, you bastard. Yeah. And it's sort of like, because you're not coming with me today, like get fucking back to bed.
Yeah.
And then that's it. As soon as I leave that bedroom, then it's done. And then, and don't get me wrong, there's things that come up through the day, as you know, as well as I do. There's challenges that come up, but for me, my own, like my first step in terms of any coping is I take that breath. I just, whatever it is, whatever sudden sort of shock to my system, like for me, I'm just kind of like, do you know what? Just take a breath. And then whatever the issue is, like I work at it one point to another. Because at the end of the day, I've got X amount of hours to try and sort of like.
It's a bit like cognitive therapy, isn't it?
It is.
What the crisis team use. It's like, just take a goal, right? Just one small goal a day is going to change your life. And, do you know what I mean? If you can achieve that one goal,
and this is where people working, and I know I'm biased, but then I can talk about it for hours. Like people working in communities or private mental health sort of care places, like they are like the unsung heroes with stuff, because
100%.
The amount of dedication that they give to an individual patient, like you're not just a number there, like you can tell that they genuinely care, they want to help you. And this is where it's like a misconception, like people think people going into mental health nursing do it for their own self-gratification. But from someone that's going into it, myself, I can assure you that the whole reason that we want to help and do it is to give the person that's suffering with it the tools to fix themselves. We don't want to empower it in terms of, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like, no. You, as in you, need to be listened to at all times. You are the person that's been dealing with this, but you are the person that is strong enough to get out of it, but you just don't feel it yet. And as obviously as anybody who knows me knows what I'm like with Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's like that scene where you've got Jack Sparrow with the two jacks on his shoulder.
100% it is. Yeah, I get it.
And it's that, ain't it, where you two, because you always find it's at times when you're the lowest of the low. It's the naughty Jack in that sense, with the bad thoughts. It's him who seems to make more sense, because he's always there when you're low, and so therefore you're feeling, oh well, the voice that's coming from him, he's talking sense, because he's always there when I'm low, and he's always trying to reassure me. But until you can sort of like dissect between the two, that it's actually that voice that's the one that's dragging me down, and it's the one that's dancing like silly bollocks on other shoulder that's actually trying to cheer you up. He were a fairy for you as well, were he?
Well,
Same as me. He used to sprinkle like glitter about, and I was like, "Who's this guy? Stop making out racket, you! What are you doing?"
Trying to sleep here, mate.
That's it, exactly. So, do you remember specifically, like, at what point you reached out, or who you reached out to?
Well, it was September last year. It was after my sister-in-law passed away and stuff, and I took some time off of work, and I was a support worker at the time, and one of the residents passed away who was on end-of-life care, so we knew it was going to happen. And I just, all these emotions came, and then I had this 2-week block what I had off, and I'd not really rested for like over a year. I'd just been keeping busy, making sure everyone were all right. And it was just like, holy shit. Do you know what I mean? Everything just hit me, and all this emotion just ran through my body. Like, mate, you've just been through a lot here. Do you know what I mean? And it just ran through my body. So I rang doctors up, and I goes, listen, I was put on sertraline last year. It's been working well. I've took some time off of work, and then, do you know what I mean? This thing's just happened to me again. And yeah, it was mental. And then it was about 3 weeks after I rang the crisis team rang me, that I had the massive episode where my brother's girlfriend had to ring the police on me because she was that scared.
Yeah.
And it was like, anybody that knows me knows that I would never hurt a person. I'm just not that type. My heart's on my sleeve, and I'll do out to help anybody.
Yeah.
And it was just like, Jesus. And that's where I come to the defibrillator moment, where it was like everything was just like bright white and open, and they were like, I'm here, I'm back to me. You know what I mean? And it was literally like that in a second. It was crazy.
There'll be a lot of people that'll be able to relate to how you just described that as well. Because don't get me wrong, there's some people that obviously that have all the way through their life, through varying different traumas that they went through, who are constantly battling, and they've had to spend obviously actual time at an inpatient ward, or even that then get referred to the community wards instead, and obviously you've got your outpatient wards and things like that. But there'll be a lot of people where, look, as they see it, the same as what you're saying, where they're kind of like, I were one of the lucky ones. I were able to say to myself, it's not right, and then go and seek help. But there's a lot of people out there that, and obviously we're talking about different varying things. Obviously, if you think about things like bipolar, where a person genuinely doesn't even know, like because that's a lot of things where, when we talk about awareness, where people just get misconstrued. It's sort of like, oh, well, mental health, in not just stuff like depression or whatever, you feel a bit low and stuff. And
Joe, I get angry when people say that. I really do. And I imagine you do as well. It's just depression. It's, you know what I mean, anxiety. It's like, what are you saying?
Yeah, but that's, I find that it's, I don't know. I mean, I struggle to sort of like discuss or even hold a conversation with a lot of people that are like that, because if then I try and educate them, and I don't even touch like a tenth of how many, different variances there is when you're talking about mental health conditions, let alone mental health illnesses, and everyone, people are like, wait, they're two different things. And it's like, sit with me for 5 minutes and I'll try and talk to you about them. But you can see, and then even some of them will just be saying it, we're like, oh, I'm not very fussed. And it's like, well, you're not the sort of person I ever want to be engaging in conversation with, because if you don't care about anything that is just yourself, then what sort of world are you wanting to sort of live in that sense?
And that was my coping mechanism for a lot of years. It was making sure that everybody else was okay, so then I didn't have to think about myself. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't have to deal with my problems, so they were put on back burner, so I'd look after everybody. Do you know what I mean? And it's mad how it works, isn't it? It's mad.
It's the same as obviously in episode 1 with Smeg and stuff. There's a reason that yourself, Smeg, me, Tony, Sal, Topper, very different. Any friendships that you have that sort of like, even though you might not talk as often as you should, or you intend to, there's a reason that them conversations sort of like, they stand up to test of time in that sense, because
100%.
you're like-minded. Like it's as if you're the same person, but you just look different. Like it's the same personalities. Like obviously what you've just said there about putting others first. Obviously, I discussed that in episode 1 with me, where a lot of people were like, yeah, but I know you're doing your mental health nursing now, but you could have done that at any point. And it's like, no, I agree. I could have done it at any point. But for me, when I chose that I wanted to have my children young, my focus was them. So I'd go and sweep floors or mop floors, or I'd do any job,
anything,
as long as they were comfortable. And after they're less independent on me and Nikki, then it's fine. I'll go and do whatever, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I mean, they're at that age now where I literally have to like bribe them into spending time with me. It's just like, because they've got the friend, like, you know what it was like when we were teenagers. It's like, I don't want to go and have something to eat with you. I want to sit on FIFA with my mates or something. Like, and yes, Josh, I'm talking to you. But yeah, that's obviously, it's one of them things I can definitely relate to when you say that about obviously putting others first. And do you know, sometimes, like again on episode 1, some might say it can be a disadvantage for us in our personalities to be that sort of like kind and caring natured. But do you know what? If people out there want to take advantage of us, want to exploit us, it's not a failing on us. It's not. It's not on our character.
It's a jealousy on them, isn't it?
Exactly. It says more about their type of character, that they're willing to take advantage of people who are willing to go out there and obviously do things or make a change, like we're trying to do. Who were it who said make a change? But Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, yeah.
See,
one of my favourite songs, that, to be honest.
MJ. What a lad. What a lad.
He was.
Again, it's one of them, and people can have their opinions about whatever else, but there's a lot of them people throughout life that I would describe as truly unique and special. Like they were special people. They didn't just do whatever they did in life or whatever. Like they actually did they were something. So you're talking about people like obviously Michael Jackson, Princess Diana,
Freddie,
people like.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
he was the AIDS movement, wasn't he?
Yeah, and there's things like that's how I've always been when it comes to kids. Like I've never pushed anything on them. Obviously, I've supported them and allowed them to develop and blossom into the people that they're going to turn into. But I just know, without putting any pressure on them whatsoever, they're going to make the right choices, and they're not just going to do something like, well, you know, up until this point, like I've been doing. Like they're actually going to contribute. They're going to make a difference in the world because of the mindset that they've got. Like they're well older than the years. Like they're so wise.
And kids are now, aren't they? They're so intelligent now. It's crazy. 4 years old and they're on a tablet writing an email. It's like, what are you doing?
I know, mate. I struggled to turn my bloody audio on Zoom, mate. I'm shit.
I know.
You had to help me out.
It's still like tongue out and one finger on button, isn't it?
Yeah, I do that as well. But then you go chasing after it thinking it's moved. No, it's still the same key as it was before, idiot.
It's all right. My phone's done this new update and it like separates the keyboard. So you've got two halves separate. So you have to like, you're going like that all the time. It's like, go away.
Hey, are you an Android user?
Yeah.
Cinema.
I am.
And that's not a criticism.
It's coming out of contract soon, though.
It's not a criticism on Android. I don't mean it in that way. It's just like I've got an Android.
There could be a sponsor soon, mate.
Well, this is it, right? But I literally have got an Android phone for work, and I say it to people all the time. Like, you could leave me on a desert island with a fully charged Samsung, and I would still be stranded there 50 years later because can I use that phone? It doesn't do. It's as if it's like it's allergic to anything I want it to do. I'm like, send a text message, and it's like go fuck off. It's not happening.
Yeah, I'm same with Apples though, mate. I started at Wizzo over week, and they've all got Apple phones. It's like, how do you use it? It's like I couldn't even open it. I was just slapping screen.
Is this how it works? Is this how it works?
Yeah, come on.
2 seconds later, phone over shoulder. Where's phone, Jonesy? No one gave me a phone. No one gave me a phone, mate. What are you talking about? Shall we order you a new one? Yeah, if you must. That one might vanish
get an
as
Apple,
well.
Oh,
man. So obviously, laughter. We do like laughter.
We're going a bit out of direction, aren't we?
Yeah. But no, it's to be fair, mate. It speaks volumes because obviously, what you've been through, you wouldn't have ever seen yourself where you are now. No.
There was no way out back last year, and that's honesty. There was definitely no way out last year, up until that moment. And I honestly, I think if it weren't for my sister-in-law, because we used to have like conversations at the time, before she passed away, and she always used to say, like, you're really strong-minded. I love you to bits. Do you know what I mean? And what you're doing, and moved like 140 mile away to come and support this family. And to me, it was just like, do you know what? That's what families should do.
Yeah.
It's like they're not in a position to come to Yorkshire. The best place in the country to deal with cancer treatment and stuff at Adam Brooks in Cambridge. So like they're in the best place. We need to go there. So obviously I spoke to my wife Sally. She said, "Yeah, let's go. Do you know what I mean? That's what we do. That's who we are." And I know you do the same, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We'd be up sticks and gone straight away.
Yeah, we are obviously. It'd be done in a heartbeat. It's just one of them things when someone needs you, then and obviously I still do it with strangers. You know, simplest things. If there's just sort of like, oh, you know, you haven't got like 20p or something like that, and it's all like, yeah, cost have. Like, you know what I mean? If my kids are sorted and I'm sorted, you know, I've got a roof over my head, I've got electric, I've got food, even if it's like half a bloody loaf of bread that's about to go off or whatever, I'll stick it in the freezer and make it last. But you know what I mean? You do, don't you? It's just the mentality that we've got. If you can help someone in some way, then that's why we're here. Like, why else are we here if we're not going to be like, if we're not going to have that mentality? So, no, I think it's amazing, obviously, what you did. And I've said that
what we've done, mate. But like you say, we were all brought together, and I didn't used to believe in reasons why and stuff like that before. But we were generally, in 2003, brought together leading to this. Do you know what I mean? Smeg's got involved. Sally hopefully will get involved. Chris will get involved. Do you know what I mean? And we'll all...
Tony all the way over in Australia.
Tony on Aussie land.
Literally, Tony's on an episode in literally 2 weeks with me.
Is it?
Like, yeah, he's the next episode. And like you say, it's crazy that it comes full circle. But then, like we were saying earlier in episode, it's not crazy in another sense because it shouldn't come as a surprise to us. It does. Don't get me wrong. It comes as a surprise to me, but it shouldn't come as a surprise when you know, like when you sit there and you ponder and you're like, I can't believe it's come full circle and we're all now involved in kind of like the same movement and we've all had the same idea at the same point. And then you just kind of sit there and you're like, no, dickhead. Obviously, we're always going to go this way.
Definitely.
So
that's who we are.
That's it, innit? That's it. But no, it's such an awesome bunch of people that I've always tried to surround myself with. To be fair, like-minded people, like we're both saying. So then I suppose it's a nice thing that it does constantly keep coming up every day and surprising me, catching me off guard that, wow, that there is more people out there that's got the same mindset as me that, and you know as well, obviously, which we're going to go into very shortly, obviously, with the stuff that you're working on, stuff like the outpouring of people who you've never met before, other side of the world, will send you a message. And they'll thank you for what you're doing, or they'll literally have their own story about something else, and then obviously you read into it or whatever else, or you follow their content, and it's just that's the one thing that I didn't know how to obviously kind of go into this field in terms of, obviously you can call it what you want. Obviously, some people call it content creating, or you're a social media influencer or whatever we want to call it. There were reasons why I were a bit dubious about going down into this avenue. I've always been one of them people that will sit and I'll give advice to friends. And
you have always been loudest at group though, mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you know, my gran always used to say, if you're not going to use your voice, then why have it? Why have your voice? And again, I just used to, you know, like you do when you're a kid, it was like, what I don't even know what you're saying to me right now, kind of thing. But then it comes back full circle like 20 years later, and it's like light bulb, and it's like, holy shit, she were right. Like she saw it all the way back then. But they were one of the varying reasons why I were kind of a bit dubious, because you hear about other stories, you know, as well as I do, about obviously social media is bad. stay away from it. You've got bullying that goes on, and all these things genuinely do go on. You know, trolls, bullying.
Of course I do. Yeah.
But
Every time I put a video up on YouTube, there's an instant message straight away on a certain amount of time that comes up straight away. So I don't know if that's a generic thing on YouTube, but like I'll find out the name so everyone can look out for it. But it's kind of a spam. So if you click onto the name, even like I've got a video that lasts 50 seconds, and it like says Vom Summit
promote it on here.
25. Yeah, it's like, what you want about that?
Yeah, you have a lot of these people that are obviously creating their own accounts. The thing with, I mean, I'll name drop it. Thing with that I've noticed with Instagram is you have a lot of people that have genuinely started businesses where they will encourage people to pay them a fee of like $9.99 or whatever, and they will get you 1,000 extra followers. So, and it's illegal, as obviously in terms of obviously content on social media platforms. Like, if that's reported, the account's closed and stuff like that, because they call it like for like or sub for sub. But you'll notice on my posts, if I post something to do with podcast, and I've even noticed it started happening when I'm posting, obviously the memes, obviously the quotes and things like that. Like, someone will pop up saying, promote this at like so and so's page, and then you go on page, and it's one of these people we're talking about where they're sort of like, oh, you know, for $10.99 we can get you 2,000 followers, and it's like, I'm not being funny, and obviously I just put the content out there. If people like it, they like it, and that's the whole message. What I've always tried to make with this. I'm not bothered about followers. Like we've said, sense.
You said, I've said, if we can help one person out of all of this, do you know what I mean? We can rest.
People obviously
want to help millions.
Well, this is it. There's no end to our generosity in that sense. That we're always there's always going to be the next person to help along the way.
My messenger, and I'm sure yours, will always be open if anyone ever wants to talk to us personally. On a personal note, I will always have time for you.
Yeah. And I think that comes back down to obviously our characters, like we've said. It's same with, I know obviously, because obviously I share your content when you're putting it up, because I think obviously not just because I'm partly involved, it's obviously because I support what you're doing, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, vice versa. Yeah.
So we share it for that reason. But it was funny that you'd said about obviously the number of followers and things like that, and it's like, I like specifically in my head, I know the first non-friend follower I had on this account. I know him word for word. I know the name. That they probably don't even think, oh, he's just whatever. Like, and it's not just a random that's followed or whatever. Like, they actively share the posts and stuff like that. They share the podcast content and things like that. And every now and again, they drop a message and they just say, you know, thank you for what you're doing. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, thank you, because you're helping to be part of the solution in terms of what we're trying to do collectively as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
But I did going into it. I had so many reservations about it because of the trolls. But
it's scary, isn't it? And like say, your anxiety kicks in again because you don't know how people are going to take it either. Because some are like, oh, you're just trying to make money off of it, and it's like, this is nothing to do. Or has never been. I suppose, okay, there is money involved, but that's going to charities.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So give me as much money as you want. But it's not coming to
I was totally expecting that same as yourself, obviously, because you're doing charity fundraising as well. But I was expecting that when I'd said about the merchandise, what we've got coming up and stuff, that I was expecting a lot of people to be like, oh, well, I'm not donating to that because how do I know? And it's like, well, you know, because I will have a full like record of tax registry information, and if I'm not paying tax and stuff like that, then I'm going to be in prison. So
that's it. Yeah,
and as we know, with all these, obviously creating your own sort of merchandise, things like that, it's all done. I've got no problems name dropping any company I use. Shopify, that account will be getting sorted shortly, and it'll all be tied up. And I've got a full back catalogue to prove to anybody, not them little trolly, weird people.
Yeah.
But the genuine people that have questions or whatever, it's like, yeah, I can show you an entire paper trail, 75% of the proceeds are obviously going straight through to, there's the paper trail. It went to
But
this
obviously
charity,
you
went to
have
that
to
charity.
fund the first bit of it, don't you? So obviously there's that to take in.
And even then, obviously, from conversations with Chris, because it was sort of like, when you get to a certain point, what you wanting to do, and I'm like, I've never done this for any other reason that I want to create awareness, and then if people like listening to podcasts, they find relatable content on it, or more importantly, if they like the merchandise and designs and stuff, because obviously we've got musical influencers that we like and such. If they like all of that stuff, they can buy some merchandise, and then that money that they've then that whatever 20 quid for a t-shirt they've paid, they're like, oh well, that's same as if I go to a shop or whatever. But obviously what they know going into it is I've actually just donated like pretty much 20 quid to a charity. Then it's like, well, that's and the only other thing is just going to be little improvements along the way to try and help. Obviously, shall we say professionalize? Professionalize the professional, different equipment and stuff. Because
I don't know if we could use professional enough. So.
yeah, I know what you're saying. yeah, completely. Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't ever say that with me.
No,
but
we have to try and make.
I'm making it work with what I've got available at the minute. So
definitely, mate.
Put it that way. But well, it leads us, funnily enough, onto your stuff. So go for it, mate.
So we're gonna have a bit of a chat about me now. I think we should. So it started off in January this year. I was watching and looking at a lot of things on internet and ways that I could help, because obviously in that mindset that I want to help people. So like, right. And I was like you, I was dubious about this YouTube, Instagram, Facebook page thing. And it was like, do I don't, I do I? And it was like, I'm doing it. So I went and bought this electric bike that Sally didn't know about at the time. So that were a bit of a, it was a bit of a like, whoa. So anyway, it's not great or good. So I got this bike and I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a charity up with Just Giving, and I'm going to do rides, and I'm going to talk about how things in life can hit you for the good, not the bad. Do you know what I mean? We're taking bad and we're not putting that on the film. Do you know what I mean? So if you're going to come with negativity, it's going to be straight off. Do you know what I mean? It's all positive.
Yeah.
And I want it just to be an open channel for people that are struggling to talk to somebody, because like you said earlier, sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody that you don't know. So do you know what I mean? That messenger will be left open for people that want to talk privately. Do you know what I mean? And I just think it's gonna do so good for people, and like the process that you're doing as well, and I'm doing, and it's joining together with Chris, and do you know what I mean? And we're going around the world with it. If we think about it.
No, it's true. Of course, it's true. Yeah. And that's where it needs to be. That's what we've both said before, that this movement that, and it's starting to pick up speed in UK, but it needs to be across world. Like,
definitely.
There's so many other countries that are in such a worse state than UK.
There is. America and Japan is one of the highest rated for suicide and depression being unrecognised because they don't have the healthcare.
You actually,
I've got.
I was gonna say, just before we came on air, obviously, Jonesy actually surprised me with it. I wasn't expecting that he were going to bring some figures together, but just divulge some of that information, because I think it's going to open a lot of eyes.
It is, yeah. So it's obviously not a light; it's quite deep. But from my research that I've been doing from 2019 to 2020, that's January, people aged 10 to 24 years of age, 54% of them were committing suicide within 10 years. I think.
No, it made sense. It made sense, mate. That's alarming.
It's horrible. It's horrible to think that, like I say, there's a lot of help out there, but it's not getting across. Unfortunately, it's getting missed somewhere.
Most definitely. With them sort of things, when you're talking about should we categorize them as adolescent? Categories, obviously. Yeah. When we categorize them in that sort of, there's lots of things that might have been going off in obviously the personal life, the home life, abuse, maybe things like that.
Online abuse, social,
all sorts of abuse, which is resulting in, again, that same situation of them not feeling like they've got any other option. Maybe the lack of awareness as well, that the fact that they didn't know who to turn to. If you literally, anybody within that age bracket now, if you just went up to them in the street and they'd be like, do you know what Samaritans is? They'd have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
Let alone, especially everybody's got a smartphone these days, like they could have it as number one speed dial.
That's it, yeah. Or an app, or get an app. Do you know what I mean? That you can just click on a button, I'm in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Somebody can come out and support you through it instead of being on your own.
Yeah, and well, obviously Jones is going to continue giving some more, obviously, information out, because you got some more, didn't you? I am right.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more.
It was just quite interesting that obviously we just touched on Samaritans and stuff. Obviously, as we've said, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to have lots of lower thirds coming up. You'll have seen Samaritans coming up, as well as Mind. All information there for people to be able to just literally pick up a phone, even if they're wanting to keep it completely confidential.
Yeah.
If they're not wanting the friends and family to be aware of how they're feeling now, that at the time, they can, just a phone call while they're in the bedroom, middle at night. No one knows phone call's been had, but you've reached out, and someone on the other end of the line is going to have helped to try and pull you away from those sort of darker thoughts and stuff. So they're going to be coming up around, obviously, the episode. So and obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, just follow links that's in the description, and obviously all the information. But there's all them outlets available to help. But sorry, I'll jump back to Jonesy.
No, we're all right. So this is UK based only. So last March, obviously the COVID pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So from last March to this March, there has been 5,691 deaths from suicide in men, women, and children. That is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it's
devastating.
There's an interesting actually one, because obviously we didn't discuss this before. Obviously the episode, obviously, like I just said earlier, obviously thinking, but it's interesting that you'd said then about obviously that last figure, because I literally recently, over the last few weeks, I was doing an assignment as part of my studies. And I was looking at the correlation between social anxiety and COVID-19, obviously the lockdowns and things like that, because my initial thought process going into writing that assignment was there's going to be an increase in social anxiety coming out of lockdowns and stuff. And I was looking at Office of National Statistics, obviously information when it was coming into obviously writing my assignment and things like that. And one of the points that it brought up is that recorded anxiety levels. I think the case study that they've done was, and bearing in mind the ONS does it's like a year-long study, and they do it week by week. They have participants who's voluntarily involved in it and stuff, but they log in. It's anonymous, but they log in and say, they'll just do a tick box of like 10 questions, and they'll do that every week, and it just gets tracked that way. The highest number, I can't remember the exact percentage, but the highest number of anxiety related feelings, as it would be, during this entire, so from March until like March this year, was.
So is that somebody getting treated for anxiety?
No, these were like, so this specific part of it was just people who were dealing with anxiety sensations, feelings that they hadn't ever dealt with before COVID, so pre-COVID, but since being in COVID, social, obviously, anxiety and such like that. But it highlighted the fact that it was more women. So then the question from that is, well, why? And it was still happening with men as well, but it was higher with women. And then obviously you have to entertain the thought process of that it's, the reality is the reason why a lot of females were suffering more with anxiety during this last year is sadly, and it's from previous studies that I've done as well, because during lockdown, they were in the house, and 9 times out of 10 in them situations, they're stuck in the house with a partner who's abusive, domestic violence. So obviously the anxiety levels obviously were higher as a result. And we saw it briefly, probably I saw it for the first 3 months, I think it was. There were a lot of movement with it, weren't they? Sort of like,
it was in mainstream news, wasn't it? With
just
all
message
of that,
whatever, message a friend, send this if you're being abused at home and you can't talk about it and you're trapped and stuff. But then it kind of fell off, and then
they were saying like use the Just 3 Words app that you've got now, that you can download now, and that locates your spot where you're at, so you don't have to say anything.
Yeah, so it's them sort of them bigger pictures, things like we're saying there, where obviously the statistics that you've just rolled out there can be correlated to anxiety as well as the suicide. Yeah, but these show that the the pretense markers in that sense, because it's got to that point, like you keep saying, it's got to that point, but there's been no prevention leading up to it. Obviously, the prevention of dealing with issues where a person is anxious, the well-being's being affected. Why are those situations not getting dealt with at that point? So it's never led to the point where they feel there's no way out and they need to end their life. And it's the bigger picture thing which you and I get. But there's a lot of people out there that will not correlate between they'll just have the opinion that you wake up one day and just feel like you want to kill yourself. And it's like, whilst that's true with things, bipolar.
It can be, but it's a long process of building them.
Yeah, and of course it is, man. Of course it is.
It is.
Let's now move to the positive side of things. On obviously, as we'll keep discussing, we're going obviously we try to actively, both of us, to make improvements and help with mental health awareness and such. So obviously, you've got obviously a YouTube channel.
So OneEyedJack goes riding.
Yes. Also, again, lower thirds will be coming up. You'll see Mark's advertisements throughout. Check him out as well on Instagram. Same name as well. OneEyedJack goes riding. If obviously you're following our content, you'll see obviously he's tagged in a lot of the things. So obviously just head over, follow what he's doing. It's brilliant. You can watch back all his previous videos that he's been doing as well, including the one where he fell.
That was funny.
Coffee came out of my nose because. The thing is, right? Well,
you sent me a picture watching it, didn't you?
Yeah, me and Jonesy, obviously, we talk quite a lot and stuff, and obviously, we could have not spoke for a couple of days, and then there'll just be a random message one night, and that was one of the nights. Like literally, I'd got it on, and I was going through all my different pages I'm subscribed to on YouTube, and obviously I was watching it, but I thought, I'm not going to tell him. I'll watch it, and obviously I'll get back to him. I'll be like, really good episode, and so obviously I didn't know that he fell. So when he did fall, I'd literally just took a sip of coffee and the coffee came out of my nose. So I had to obviously put my coffee down, sort myself out. And obviously that's when I sent him a picture and they were like, oh, nice one. And I was like, you're not even going to mention it, are you? And then you did it. And I was like, yeah, mate. Like, a typical friend does. No, mate, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
I can't believe the camera cut off as I fell onto the floor, though. I wish it carried on. Because I was laughing for ages. I was laughing for a good 20 minutes.
Mate. Oh. But no, it's obviously these videos that Jones is putting out and stuff. Obviously, it's a good point to jump on board now onto his channel and get watching, because he's building his stamina up, because he knows where he's wanting to do. And obviously we'll touch on that in a second. But he obviously, to do that, it's quite a lot of physical talk on his body. So he's needing to build himself up to that point. So help be a part of his journey and get involved at this point and see to where he's gonna be at when he's doing this. And so you've got your ride for mental health.
So it's the charity's called Rethink Mental Health. They've been in contact with me and stuff, and they're actually going to be one of the sponsors as well. So they're going to give me a t-shirt for the ride. So I'm doing 250 miles from Cambridge to Pontefract in Yorkshire. And you're coming with me all the way. I mean, it's going to be recorded.
Yes.
It's going to be epic, and I'm gonna aim to do like weekly videos instead of like putting so many up a week and that. You know what I mean? But like, it's going to be a tough toll. Last sporting thing I ever did was playing rugby before I come here to Cambridge for Castleford, and it's going to take a lot, and I've got 4 months to do it.
You're gonna smash it, mate. You're gonna smash it.
Yes, mate. There's no stopping me. And then we've got Scotland next year, haven't we?
We have indeed, yeah. So I need to have discussions with some of my other friends in regards to that. So there's lots of different things where, and this is what we've been talking about in episode as well. If we can help each other to ultimately help others, then it's all worth it. Like, and we're creating a community around ourselves as well. So obviously, I'm dragging Jonesy into another side project that I've got coming up, where we're planning on doing what is known as the Scottish Route 66, but we're going to be doing a motor vlog episode. Well, actually, it'll be a couple of episodes, because we're going to do the Scottish Route 66, raise money as we're doing it. There's going to be multiple different ones of my mates who are riders who have got bikes, motorbikes and stuff. So we'll be going, but we're actually going to have to try and find a time when it's not uber cold, but we're actually planning on roughing it and camping. Jones is literally going to be our medic. He's going to have all gear, all emergency equipment in
all the gear and no idea.
That's the one. I swear to God, man, Jonesy, we're getting you a t-shirt with that on. I swear to God. Your logo's going to go on chest part, and I'm going to get you one printed out, man. And we'll put Road Captain on your t-shirt.
Road Captain, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's these things that we keep talking about, obviously collaborating together and stuff, and it raises awareness for each individual thing that we're going to be doing, like on your content, my content. But it's just a bigger picture thing, in it ways just showing people it don't matter. I mean, you've only got to look at bloody Tom, what he did, how much money he raised and stuff for something simple like just walking. You don't have to be the biggest of gestures of what you do. It's just anything.
It's not even about amount or anything like that. It's just showing that there are people there, isn't it?
Yeah, just like we say, obviously we're going down avenue, obviously raising money, because we both appreciate where lack of resourcing is and stuff, and how the money does, and people don't quite. I mean, hopefully one day I'll be able to do a vlog episode with, community nurses for mental health to have them better explain their experience of where the money goes and how it actually does. The littlest amount does help, but like you rightfully said, it's not even about the money. Something simple. You're walking down the street and you can see someone sat on a bench and they look really down. Just ask them, do you mind if I sit down and have a natter with you? It's all it takes sometimes.
For a cup of tea and have an hour or something.
I've always been one of them people. If I'm walking down and there's like a little old dear on bench, and obviously she at that point should have been looking at me like, oh, he's gonna mug me. and then quickly, obviously, you know what I mean. Then you quickly sit there, and then that's it. Then they remember you. They always remember you. Oh, he's here. He's here.
Is he
Old Dottie's lad. Dottie's lad's here. Oh, if I was 60 years younger.
Yeah. Want to be my toy boy?
give me a Werther's and it's a deal.
Yeah, that's it. The soft ones though, cause my teeth aren't any good now. Do you know have you got the soft ones there, God?
Yeah, them chewy ones.
Where's this going?
There's a joke in there somewhere, Jonesy.
There is, isn't there? There is.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to let's wrap this up, because as we both know, I can talk to you for hours.
We could sit here for a good 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, mate, as like we've discussed in this episode, you're going to be involved in a lot of my side projects. I'm going to help
and likewise,
you out.
likewise.
Obviously, I'm going to help out as much as I can. Try and get you some. Get you some awareness out there on platforms. Get people following what you're doing, because it's an amazing thing that you're doing. And there's going to be so many people out there that can actually, obviously, relate to what you've been through, and you know what I mean, that they'll see where you're at now and see that there is a way out. And
there is,
but more importantly, it's all right not to be all right as well. Like
it is definitely
doesn't define you because you've been the lowest of low, and it doesn't mean that that's who you are, you know, as a person.
Definitely.
But look, guys, check him out. OneEyedJack Goes Riding on Instagram and on YouTube. There'll be some more video content coming from him shortly. He's doing amazing things. Check out, obviously, his fundraising page. Again,
you'll find that on Facebook.
Yep, he's. I didn't know if you wanted to actually put it out.
You can put it on. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, he's using his own personal Facebook, but Mark Jones, Jonesy, as you might have gathered by now. So Matt Jones, Facebook, but obviously if you check him out on obviously YouTube and check him out on Instagram, all the content's there anyway, and obviously what he's sharing on Facebook, his own personal Facebook, is what's on both them channels anyway. So check out any one of them, and like I said, YouTube viewers, all information's coming up on your screen. Those who's listening on Spotify, head over to obviously the description tab within Spotify, and all links are going to be there. It's going to have Jones's links in there as well for this episode. And just like I always say to you guys, give us a listen on Spotify, watch on YouTube, comment, like, share, subscribe, drop us inbox messages if you're interested in being a guest at any point. If you're interested in any sort of collaboration, you think that we can work with each other, give us a shout.
We are thinking about going to download next year as well, aren't we, mate? So
we are indeed, mate. We are. My gig lineup is going through the roof at the minute. It starts from June this year, so we've got so much coming up. But look, man, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for being on, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
Your story is going to be heard by a lot of people, and it's going to help a lot of people, man.
I hope it does. I really hope it gets there. And there's much more that we can speak about, but that can be for another episode, because no doubt we'll be coming back.
Oh, we will. That's my intention. I'll be coming back full circle, and because obviously you're out there in community now, and a lot of people are going to want to know how you're doing, what you're doing, because people are nosy as well, aren't they?
Us phones are going off now, aren't they, mate?
Fucking hell, mate. I know. Like I think my phone's died because it's been vibrating that much. Fucking idiot. One of these days, well, I'd say turn it off, but I can't, because just in case an emergency at high school.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, man, look, super happy you've come on. I appreciate you more than I could ever even sort of describe.
And same for you, mate. Same for you.
I love you to bits. I love what you're doing, man.
I love you too, man.
Drop us a message if you need it, as always. We'll have a giggle about this episode later anyway.
There's definitely some bad moments in this.
As always, clips will be available on so whenever you see these posts coming up saying that recording days today, it's going to generally be a Friday unless it's a bonus episode I'm doing. And then 2 clips will be released giving a teaser of the show, different conversations we're having. 1 clip will come on a Saturday, 1 clip comes on Sunday, and then the full episode usually comes on from about midday on the Monday, because you can schedule it on YouTube, and then it just obviously gets synced up to Spotify as well. So yeah, those people listening and stuff, that's kind of like the schedule we're going down for future episodes. Stay tuned for updates on further episodes. Like I said, we've got one coming up in a matter of a week or so. So we're Tony Westwood. But I've got so many others. I've got people booked in until now, January next year. And it's busy. And that's somehow I've got to try and find degree studies in between all that shit as well.
Yeah.
What have we started, mate? What have we started?
I know, mate.
Yeah, mate. I'll say farewell. Love you, man.
Mate.
Keep doing
Love
what you're
you
doing.
too, mate.
I'm super proud of you.
Yeah,
right,
you
brother.
too, mate.
Guys
care,
out
mate.
there, take it easy, live life, be kind, and give back. See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.